sacrifice that causes pain is no sacrifice at all. True sacrifice is joy-giving and uplifting. With these words, welcome you all to ABS Creations by your educationalist Chandrakala. Great achievement is usually born of great sacrifice and is never the result of selfishness. Follow your passion, be prepared to work and sacrifice, and above all, achieve your dream with selflessness. An educational channel with moral values. Before proceeding to the video, please subscribe the channel by pressing the bell icon. Thank you. In this video, we are going to learn about nationalism in India. First of all, what do you mean by nationalism? Nationalism is a feeling of pride in one's country. It also refers to the desire for freedom felt by people under foreign domination, as in the case of pre-independent India. This growing sense of nationalism led to the birth of the nationalist movement and eventual freedom from colonial rule. In India, the growth of modern nationalism is intimately connected to the anti-colonial movement. People began discovering the unity in the process of their struggle with colonialism. The sense of being oppressed under colonialism provided a shared bond that tied many different groups together. But each class and group felt the effects of colonialism differently. Their experiences were varied and their notions of freedom were not always the same. The Congress under Mahatma Gandhi tried to forge these groups together within one movement, but the unity did not emerge without conflict. So you can see the timeline chart from 1914 to 1920. So the events which took place between 1914 to 1920, we are going to learn in this session. So from the year 1914 to 1918, the First World War took place. 1914 to 1918, the First World War took place. And from the year 1916 to 1918, three Satyagraha movements have been organized by Mahatma Gandhiji. One is Champaran movement, Kheda movement, and the Satyagraha movement for the cotton mill workers. And the most important year of landmark in the history of India's freedom struggle is the year 1919, and the various incidents took place in this year. Rowlett Act, Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, Khilafat movement, and in the month of September and November, two Congress sessions, one at Calcutta and one at Nagpur, has been organized to discuss and adopt the Non-Cooperation Program. Now we will see which are the countries involved in the First World War. So the First World War, which took place between 1914 to 1918, involved two powers. One is Axis power, which includes the countries of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, that is Ottoman Empire. Axis powers are the countries which includes Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey. Whereas Allied powers are the countries like Great Britain, France, and Russia. Allied powers are Great Britain, France, and Russia. So these powers, Axis powers and the Allied powers, who belong to European nation, they fought among each other in the First World War. But what is the condition of India during this First World War? That is, India was under the control of British rule. India was under British colonization. So, what is the impact of First World War in India? So, we can see the major impact was seen on the economical and the political situation. So, the major impact of the First World War on India is on new economic and the political situation, which has led to the huge increase in defense expenditure. huge increase in defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. First of all, what do you mean by war loans? It is nothing but a war bond, a debt security issued by the government to finance military operation during the time of war. So investment in war bond was made through an emotional appeal to patriotic citizens to lend the government money, as these bonds offered a rate of return below the market rate. So this is what we used to say it as war loans. Of the total cost of the war, about 22% was financed by increasing taxes, and from 20 to 25% by printing money, which means that from 53 to 58% was financed through bond issues. Followed by the huge increase in defense expenditure, custom duties were raised. That is, both export and the import tax have been raised. Followed by the income tax introduction. Income tax has been introduced. So the first major impact on India was a new economic and political situation, which has led to huge increase in defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and the income tax introduced. Throughout these war years, the prices of the products in India started doubling or increased doubling between the years 1913 and 1918. So the prices of the products started increased, doubling between 1913 and 1918, which led to extreme hardship which was felt by the common people, followed by forced recruitment. That is a process by which the colonial state forced people to join the army. What do you mean by forced recruitment? A process by which the colonial state forced people to join the army. So, this forced recruitment took place in all the villages of India. So, villages were called upon to supply the soldiers. Then, in the year between 1918 to 1919 and between 1920 to 1921, we have seen the crop failure in many parts of India. So, crop failure has led to acute shortage of food and followed by influenza epidemic. Crop failure has led to acute shortage of food and influenza epidemic. In the census 1921, it was noted that 12 to 13 million people perished. 12 to 13 million people perished due to famine and also due to epidemic. So in 1921, it was noted that 12 to 13 million people perished due to famine and epidemic. People hoped that the hardship would end after the war was over, but that did not happen. At this stage, a new leader appeared and suggested a new mode of struggle, that is Gandhiji's Satyagraha. The word Satyagraha, holding firmly to Satya, that is righteousness, indicated the non-violent nature of a struggle against injustice. The word Satyagraha, holding firmly to Satya, that is righteousness, indicated the non-violent nature of a struggle against injustice. So the meaning of Satyagraha is that a novel method of mass agitation without the use of force. A novel method of mass agitation without the use of force. In the year 1915, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa, where he practiced the word Satyagraha due to the ill treatment of colored people by the ruling white minority of Satyagraha. So Gandhi was moved to fight for their rights. So there he developed the concept of Satyagraha. After returning to India from South Africa, he introduced the word Satyagraha even in India. But what is the basic idea behind Satyagraha? So the idea of Satyagraha, It emphasized the power of truth and the need to search for truth. It emphasized the power of truth and the search for truth. Whereas Satyagraha suggested that if the cause was true, if the struggle was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. Satyagraha suggested that if the cause was true, if the struggle was against injustice, then the physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. Without seeking vengeance or being aggressive, a Satyagrahi could win the battle through non-violence. This could be done by appealing to the conscience of the oppressor. So, by this struggle, and truth was bound to ultimately triumph. Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence could unite all Indians. Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence could unite all Indians. Following the Satyagraha in India, he organized three Satyagraha movements moving to different regions of India. So in the year 1916, he traveled to Champaran, which is situated in Bihar. There he organized Satyagraha for the peasants against indigo oppressive plantations. So that movement came to be known as Champaran movement. In the year 1916, he organized peasant Satyagraha against the indigo oppressive plantation. So this movement was very successful. After this movement successful, he went to Gujarat, and in the year 1917 he organized the Satyagraha for peasants for the revenue relaxation in the district of Gujarat, in the district of Kedah, which belongs to Gujarat. In the year 1917 he organized peasant Satyagraha for the relaxation of revenue in the districts of Kedah, which is situated in Gujarat. This movement also was successful. And in the year 1918, he worked for the cotton mill workers. That is, he organized the Satyagraha movement for the cotton mill workers for the reduction of less hours of works and for more wages. So all these movements which took place between the year 1916, 1917 and 1918. So this was a very successful Satyagraha movement. As these Satyagraha movements was very successful, the British government in India wanted to suppress the Satyagraha movement. So the government of British India appointed a commission called by the name as Rowlett Commission and passed the act called as Rowlett Act in the month of 6th February 1919. So this act was hurriedly passed by Imperial Legislative Council against the united opposition of the Indian members. So the people called this Rowlett Act as Black Act. So this Rowlett Act gave the government enormous powers to repress political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without the trial for a period of 2 years. So Mahatma Gandhiji decided to launch a non-violent civil disobedience movement against this unjust law, which would start with Hartal on 6th April 1919. So Gandhiji 1919 he decided to launch a nationwide Satyagraha against the proposed Rowlett Act. So that came to be started with Hartal. So how this Hartal was organized? So it was organized by the rallies in various cities. So rallies were organized in various cities. And the workers went on strike, particularly railway workshops, and all the shops have been closed up. Alarmed by this populous upsurge and scared that the lines of communication, such as the railways and telegraph, would be disrupted, the British administration decided to clamp down on nationalists. So, the British administration picked up the local leaders of Amritsar, that is Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal. So these two leaders of Amritsar were arrested, and followed by Mahatma Gandhiji was barred from entering Delhi. So when Mahatma Gandhi was barred on entering Delhi, so the Satyagrahis they started a peaceful procession. So in the month of 10th April 1919, British police fired on peaceful procession, provoking widespread attack on banks, post offices and railway station. So at this particular period of time, General Dyer took the command and imposed the martial law in the month of 10th April 1919. What do you mean by martial law? Martial law states that no more than two people can form a group and meet at a place. Martial law states that no more than two people can form a group and meet at a place. So in such cases, the Satyagrahis they decided to gather together in the month of 13th April in the Jallianwala Bagh ground, which is situated in Amritsar of Punjab. So in the same month, 13th April 1919, large group of common people gathered in the grounds of Jallianwala Bagh to enjoy the Baisakh fair. So these common people were unaware of martial law imposed by General Dyer. So the peaceful protesters, that is Satyagrahis, they gathered and they were discussing to condemn the government's new repressive measures. So at this particular period of time, General Dyer entered into the ground of Jallianwala Bagh and he blocked the entire exit and he ordered his troops to fire on the crowd. So this incident killed many hundreds of people and many were wounded. And this incident came to be known as Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. This incident came to be known as Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. So the main aim or the objective of the General Dyer on this Jallianwala Bagh massacre was that to produce a moral effect, and to create in the minds of Satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. The main objective of General Dyer by imposing Jallianwala Bagh massacre was that to produce a moral effect and to create in the minds of Satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. As the news of the Jallianwala Bagh spread, crowds took to the streets in many North Indian towns. So Satyagrahis, they organized strikes, they had clashes with police and attacks on government buildings. So the government of British India, they responded with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people. So they showed brutal repression over Satyagrahis in such way that Satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground. Satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground. They were asked to crawl on the streets. They were asked to do salam, that is salute, to the sahibs of the Britishers. The people were flogged and the villages around Gujranwala in Punjab, now in Pakistan, were bombed. So Satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground. They were asked to crawl on the streets. They were asked to do salam to the sahibs. Many people have been flogged away from the city and the villages were bombed. So by seeing this violent attack over the Satyagrahis by the Britishers in India, Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off this Rowlett Satyagraha movement. Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off the Rowlett Satyagraha movement. At this particular period of time, when the First World War was ended, a Khilafat movement has been organized in India in the year 1919. That is, when the First World War ended by the defeat of Ottoman Turkey, the rumors spreaded that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of the Islamic world, the Khalifa. To defend the Khalifa temporal powers, a Khilafat committee has been organized or started in Bombay in the month of March 1919 by the two Ali brothers, Maulana Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. So, who were the two Ali brothers who started the Khilafat committee in Bombay? They were the Maulana Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. So, at this particular period of time, when the Khilafat committee was organized in Bombay, the main aim was that to protect the holy place of Turkey and to restore the territories of Turkey and restore the Ottoman Empire. So the main aim of the Khilafat movement or the committee which was organized by the two Ali brothers was to protect the holy place of Turkey, restore the territories of Turkey and to restore the Ottoman Empire. At this particular period of time, Mahatma Gandhiji wanted to start a widespread movement. And this widespread broad-based movement is possible only by uniting Hindus and Muslims. So when Ali brothers came to Mahatma Gandhi and discussed about the Khilafat issue, Gandhiji took this opportunity to bring the Muslims under the umbrella of a unified national movement. So Gandhiji took this opportunity to bring the Muslims under the umbrella of unified national movement. So he discussed this Khilafat issue in the Congress session which took place in the month of September 1920 at Calcutta. So when he discussed this issue, he convinced the other leaders of Congress. To support the Khilafat issue and to set up the non-cooperation movement in the year 1920 in the support of Khilafat as well as Swaraj. At this particular period of time, Mahatma Gandhiji declared that the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians and have survived only because of this cooperation. If Indians refused to cooperate, British rule in India would collapse within a year and Swaraj would come. And these words was written in his famous book Hindu Swaraj in the year 1909. So, Mahatma Gandhi discussed about the non-cooperation movement and how could non-cooperation become a movement. So Gandhiji proposed that the movement should unfold in stages. Gandhiji proposed that the movement should unfold in stages. It should begin with surrender of titles. Which was given to Indians by the Britishers. And the second one by boycotting civil services, army, police and courts, boycotting the legislative council, boycotting the schools, and even the boycotting the foreign goods. When this boycott took place, and if the government in case used repression, Mahatma Gandhiji decided to launch a full civil disobedience campaign. So through the summer of 1920, Mahatma Gandhi along with Shaukat Ali, they toured extensively around the villages of India, mobilizing popular support for the movement. So many within this Congress were, however, concerned about the proposal. So many Congress leaders were reluctant to boycott the council election, which has been scheduled for November 1920, fearing in mind that the movement might lead to a popular violence movement might lead to a popular violence. In the months between September and December, there was an intense tussle which took place within the Congress. For a while, there seemed no meeting point between the supporters and the opponents of the movement. Finally, at the Congress session at Nagpur, which was held in the year December 1920, a compromise was worked out within the Congress people along with Mahatma Gandhiji. And finally, the Non-Cooperation Program was adopted. Non-Cooperation Program was adopted in the support of Khilafat as well as Swaraj. So in December 1920, in the Congress session at Nagpur, Non-Cooperation Program was adopted in the support of uniting Hindus and Muslims as well as to achieve Swaraj. In the next video, we will learn about how this different social group conceived the idea of non-cooperation. So in examination point of view, we can see few map points relating to these concepts what we have learned. Peasant Satyagraha against indigo oppressive plantation is Champaran. Peasant Satyagraha in Gujarat, that is Kedah. Cotton mill workers Satyagraha, which took place in Ahmedabad. Khilafat committee was organized by Ali brothers in Bombay in 1919. And the Congress session, which took place in the month of September 1920, is at Calcutta. And another Congress session where the non-cooperation program was adopted in the month of December 1920 took place at Nagpur. So these are the few most important map points of these concepts. And these are the few questions which you can go through it. Explain the facts about the new economic situation created in India by the First World War. Describe about the idea of Gandhis Satyagraha. Examine the Satyagrahis movement organized by Gandhiji between 1916 to 1918. Why did Gandhiji decided to launch a nationwide Satyagraha? Examine the reactions of Indian people against the Rowlett Act of 1919. Examine the incident leading to Jallianwala Bagh massacre. How did the government react to Satyagrahis? Why was Khilafat movement supported by Gandhiji? What was his main aim? How could non-cooperation become a movement? How did non-cooperation movement adopted in December 1920? So you can go through the concepts of this video and you can find out the answer for these questions. If you like this video, you can comment it and you can share it and you can subscribe this channel. Thank you.